Hey, good day, all of you. Sean Henderson, Pierre, the Beverage Ramble and Chats. Again, another one of these segments I'm going to do. Media and, pop culture and a bunch of other stuff. All right, let's get into it right now. Chat one is the NCAA tournament, the men's and women's tournament. I'll get to the women's tournament coming up, but the men's tournament has been set right now. Auburn is the number one overall seed, followed by Duke in the East. Auburn will be in the South, number one. Duke in the East, Florida out west, and Houston out in the Midwest. So I think everything kind of turned out the way it needed to be. Back in, was it middle of February, they had already made the release of the pre-release of some of these seedings already, and I think everything kind of worked out the way it needed to be. A couple of teams were shift from one region to another, but everything kind of worked out the way it did. As far as Auburn, not surprisingly, because they've been number one pretty much throughout most of the year, and I think they kind of deserve their overall number one seed, but the way they played the final weeks or final couple of days, especially in the SEC tournament, kind of it kind of made sense. But the big news in that is the SEC had 14 teams, the most ever for a conference ever in the history of this NCAA tournament. Probably kind of reminds me a lot of the Big East when they had 3 teams in the Final Four back in 1985. That kind of has that kind of feel to it. But the most ever for a team, for a conference, to have that many teams in the tournament. So, which tells you a lot of respect that the SEC has this year, which was a very physical, some good basketball, but physical basketball. So a lot of teams are coming in there pretty much hurt, like teams like Alabama, teams like Arkansas, which got in, which is kind of been playing okay, but they've been kind of hurt as well. Texas A&M, which has been good. Tennessee also is hurting. Auburn also is hurting as well. Kentucky got in. So it's going to be a fun tournament, and I think the numbers are going to be probably a lot better than they were last year. Last year is kind of hard to say because, we knew Purdue were good. There were like 2 teams that were pretty much solid. Everybody else was kind of middling their way through everything. But this year, I think it's just, if you look at the teams complete, it looks pretty good. As I said, I'm going to repeat what I just said. Auburn, the overall number one seed in the South. You got Duke in the East, Florida in the West, and you have Houston, University of Houston Cougars out in the Midwest. So this should be a fun tournament, and I'm really excited about it. I think, say, 9 teams could win this tournament. I like, somehow, and I hate to say this because I know a lot of people have a love-hate relationship with this team, but I think Duke is probably going to be the favorite to win. Cooper Flagg, who did not play a lot in the ACC tournament, will be playing in the tournament. So, America, get ready to watch this guy. I mean, he's really that good and just a complete player in terms of rebounding, scoring, what he does defensively. I mean, it's going to be a treat to see him. So, folks, get ready. And so it all starts on Tuesday with the first 4 games. There'll be 2 games on Tuesday, then 2 games on Wednesday to whittle it down to 64 teams. And then everything gets going on Thursday at high noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. So this tournament is always just a must-watch no matter what. Unfortunately for me, I'll try to catch some of these games, but knowing me, I know I'm going to have a lot going on the weekends, doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But, all right, now get into the women's tournament. Chat number 2 is, the women's tournament is going to be taking place, I believe, starts Friday or maybe Saturday that week, this coming weekend. UCLA Bruins are the number 1 overall seed, followed by South Carolina, USC, University of Southern California, USC, and then Texas. So now I think the main topic for this year for the women's game, will the Caitlin Clark effect take place? And I feel that the women's game is going to be just fine. I think that you have some great stars. Obviously, Juju Watkins of USC, University of Southern California, Paige Beckers of UConn, University of Connecticut, I think they're going to. I think, and a few other couple of players, some exciting players. So the post Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, some of the other stars of the women's game and the collegiate women's game will. I think the game will be just fine. I think people are going to tune in regardless, no matter what. Of course, you got some very high-profile coaches, from Kim Mulkey to Dawn Staley, Gino, the coach at Iowa, Gino Auriemma, the coach at UConn, Dawn Staley at South Carolina, Kim Mulkey at LSU. I think you're going to have some coaches who are going to be around. They're going to, the personalities of some of those coaches. And I think the game overall, I think is really good. And I think there's going to be some interest. Everybody's going to say, well, it's going to be doom and gloom, but I think the ratings are going to hold up just fine. Of course, everybody is going to talk about last year where the women's game outdrew the men's game. Of course, a couple of things you have to take in consideration. The men's game, the two national semifinals and the finals were on TBS. The women's game, the two semifinals were on ESPN, but the championship game was on ABC at a respectable time, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific, which I feel they should push that game to maybe 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific, but that's just me. I think they get a better number, but whatever. They feel that they don't want to interrupt ABC's primetime lineup, which to me it ain't much to really interrupt. I mean, America's Funniest Videos, that show's been on for almost since I was in middle school, going back. Yeah, that's how far back it is, junior high school, 1989, 90. That's how far that show goes back. And to me, they could put the game on prime time, but that's just my personal feelings on it, but whatever. So, but I think the women's game is going to be just fine. So great time of year right now. So I would say now until maybe Mother's Day weekend, maybe Father's Day weekend, you got the men's and women's tournament. They started the Major League Baseball season, which begins actually tomorrow. I think the Dodgers are playing some team, but it really takes effect in April, in my opinion. That's when really opening day here in the States really is the big deal. You got that. You got the Masters golf tournament. You got the PGA golf tournament will be in May. The NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs will be starting soon. So, so I think this is a good time. They always say what's the best time of sports? Is it the springtime from March until May or maybe until Father's Day? Because you got to add on those two golf tournaments that I mentioned, and also add on the U.S. Open golf tournament, which happens during Father's Day weekend. Great time. Or is it October? You got the baseball playoffs. You got the college football, all the NFL games going on. The start of the hockey and baseball season. But to me, those seasons should start around, and I've always said it, the hockey season and the NBA season should start around November. I should start around around Thanksgiving weekend or maybe the first week of December, in my personal opinion. That's just my feelings on it. So, oh well. All right, next topic. A couple things. The NCAA tournament coverage. I think what was I going to say about Kenny? There was a topic with John Lewis on Sports Media Watch brought up about the Will Charles and Kenny B hanging around now that the Inside the NBA show is going to be moving to sub-licensed to TNT, sub-licensed to ESPN, ABC. Again, it's all about Charles and it's all about Kenny and Shaq, about their work schedule. They want to keep it as minimal as possible, maybe like 2 days a week, if possible. Maybe, those days where, they don't, as the same schedule that they have with TNT, will they continue that with ESPN? Because, ESPN loves to get the most out of their talent every day, and I mean every single day. That's going to be the key. Now, will they still be involved in March Madness? That was the topic of discussion. I think they will be. I think it's great. I think this partnership between CBS and Turner Sports has been ongoing now for 14 years. Probably one of the best partnerships in sports media, in my opinion, between those two entities, TNT Sports and CBS, which began in 2011. It's great seeing Charles and Kenny on the desk at CBS in New York City. It's great seeing Ernie Johnson. It's great seeing great seeing now Adam Zucker, who's taking over for Greg Gumbel, which, by the way, did a great tribute for Greg Gumbel yesterday during the selection show. So if you get a chance, take a look at that. Yeah, I think this will be around because I think the tournament is fun, it's engaging, it's fun, and they could get to be themselves and bring a little excitement and bring a little bit of some fun to that pregame show that they need. Because before Kenny and Charles got there, and before CBS made the partnership with Turner Sports or TNT Sports now, it was kind of bland, kind of, So now having these guys there, it brings a little fun, a little excitement, and I'm kind of hoping they stay around. So, yeah, I think with the new deal, with the new contract, the extension that Kenny has signed, Kenny Smith and Charles Barkley, that I think they're going to remain. I hope they do remain because it's kind of fun watching them on that pregame show or the Tournament Central in between games, and Charles go on to his little rants and Kenny go on to his little rants. It's fun having those guys, and Clark kind of be like sort of the general, Adam Zucker, EJ, kind of the one that drives the ship, but Clark Kellogg kind of be the one that's kind of like keeping the eye on everything, make sure everything doesn't go off board. But it's still a fun, engaging pregame show. So, all right, guys, that's really about it. That's all I got on this Beverage Ramblin' chat. So thank you again for watching. Look forward to the tournament. Should be fun. So that's it. Beverage Ramblin' saying see ya later.